I don't blame people. I don't know how else to say it. I really sincerely believe everyone thinks what they're doing is correct. I think people actually are like doing things that they believe is in their own interest, but they're unable to see 2 days out. Like, the majority of people do not understand that, like, your actions today have consequences. And everyone is so disempowered by such a system that they find the empowerment in believing that since that person's doing it, I'll do it. I'll get this person. I have the power to exert for the moment. And they don't realize that when you're exerting, that's power against someone stronger, with endurance, who actually quite lives for this moment, the outcome is going to be quite bad. And it, today's Good Friday, and it reminds me of, the crucifixion story. And I love it. I really do think it's a very good story. Well, I don't mean to say story like it's not true. Like, it's a very good event. Anthony, he died. Stay with me. But I think it's told wrong. I think what people get out of it is wrong. So original sin from Adam and Eve is what? Like, what? Oh, she ate the apple. But what was the sin? Like, okay, that was the sin, but what was the cause? What happened? Do we even know that answer? Does anyone know that answer? Because I would submit to you it's trust and betrayal. That there's hell, and then one rung above it, like Dante says, is betrayal. Because the prerequisite to betray someone is that they love you. You can only be betrayed by someone you love, and the reason why it's the next rung over hell is because it shatters your life. And not because it's like, oh, this, that, and the third. No, mentally. You look at it and say, I loved this person. How could I have not seen this? And it's only one of two things. Either I can't see it or I don't see it. Which means unless you actually find out the reason, you can't have a relationship. You can't be a normal person. And that goes back to, well, that's a far rabbit hole of why betrayal is so prevalent today, and I think there's a certain empowerment amongst a certain gender to feel that they're disenfranchised to go get that power back, but realistically, in getting that power back, it's just a financial ecosystem for the lawyers and the courts and everyone else, and all the while that person, that gender, destroys their entire family, grows up really bitter because all the years that they had, they're no longer childbearing, they're no longer pretty per se. First of all, older women, gorgeous, right? But I don't think a 40-year-old woman should enter the single dating life, right? I don't think she's going to be competitive. And that's not to say the 40-year-old women that are in that position, like, darn, everyone's in a position for the reason you're in it. But I don't think anyone grows up and says, I want to be in that position, right? So there's a difference. And this betrayal is tough, but the prerequisite is love. So you have to trust the person. And that's what the snake was, the devil. That's in God's Eden, that this little serpent that just happened to be there, and God said, everything here is great, just don't eat that tree. What was the prerequisite to distrust one of the animals? There wasn't. So the devil was so masterful that he was able to just kind of slither his way in, and then he's like, yo, Eve, he said, you don't need to know this stuff. And Eve's like, we're not supposed to do it. And he's like, yeah, but come on, don't you want to know everything? So there's like ego involved too. Do we blame Eve? I don't think the answer is yes. I don't think you should blame her. I think she was trusting. I think she was betrayed. Now, did she betray Adam? No. She just said to her partner, like, yo, I did this, you should do this, right? So could Adam be mad at her? I guess if he's like an idiot. But like, she didn't do something to hurt him. She did something because she was betrayed, and her actions thereafter were exactly what she thought they were to be. I promise you that if you go find Eve, do you think what you did was right? She'd be like, hell no. But I didn't know the snake was the devil. I thought, like, I should trust that person. Like somebody would trust, like, their mother or something. I didn't know that. So can you be mad at Eve? I don't think you can. Trust, betrayal, ego. So how do you solve that stuff? Because I don't think Jesus absolved original sin. Like, I don't think he saved it or solved. Like, no. I think what he did was, as the world got really, really ugly, because if you read the Old Testament, like, those people were out of control. Sodom and Gomorrah. It was just really, really bad. He had to come down and had to, like, kind of get everyone right. So when people say, oh, God sacrificed his only son. No, he didn't. First of all, the Holy Trinity, they're all the same person. And second of all, you can't sacrifice somebody that could actually, like, snap their fingers and be saved. That's not called a sacrifice. That's called, like, and you're going to tell me that, like, a God sacrificed his son. For what? The guy lived for like 30 years, and now he's like eternally like God again. And that's not me speaking blasphemous, so stay with me. I'm offering a little shock value. It wasn't sacrifice, it was a plan. This man, Jesus, came down to this earth and said, you know what? All of these heathens are so out of their minds, because look at this they're doing. Even Noah's raping his own daughters. They're raping everybody. You remember that? Anyway, we gotta do something about this. So you know what? Let's give them a little Jesus. Let's give them some God. I'm gonna go down there and let these people know, yo, I'm God. God is real. Stop being idiots. Do the right thing. And this is how he addressed original sin. Original sin broke trust. It created betrayal. It created ego. The only way to solve that is in such a profound way that that people would say, oh shit, we should have trusted that guy. Wow, we just killed God because we didn't trust him. Therefore, when Jesus came down and performed the miracles and said this and said that and said that, he was betrayed by his own best friend. Judas is just peace. And Jesus is no, at the third crow, you're going to betray me. And Judas is come on, JC, me? We're best friends. And at the third crow, there it is, betrayed. How did Jesus know that? Well, if he was sacrificed, why wouldn't he save himself? He wasn't there to save himself. Think about if Jesus saved himself. I'm God, and I saved myself. Everyone's going to be that guy, he just saved himself. He's nothing could kill him. We just put him on a cross, and nothing could kill him. So what would happen? Well, you would have some that would believe in him, and then you'd have a whole world that'd want to kill him. He's a heretic. He's a witch. Look at this guy. He wouldn't actually accomplish anything. What he needed to do was to be so abused. He needed to have damages, is what they call it in law today. You have to have damages. You have to be so abused while being the good person, while following the law, while doing the right thing, while standing up for yourself, that you're willing to sacrifice yourself. But is it a sacrifice if you already know the outcome? It's not. Because Jesus didn't die. He went from the earth, which he was just visiting, to his home, which is heaven. That's not death. He transferred there. He did not die. So he didn't sacrifice himself. He was just let me go down there and let these people know, y'all must have forgot. You guys are really effing up. So I'm going to let them just... And I completely believe he felt every pain because JC was a good guy like that. It's not like he's going to numb himself. Got whipped, crown of thorns. Everyone he loved turned on him. And it's funny because once you have one person turn on you, it's like a virus. They speak to the people they speak to. They tell the story. It's like a big ugly game of telephone. They tell the story, then they tell the story, then they tell the story. And you quickly find out how many people are so hurt that they find meaning in their life by communicating and gathering with others that they perceive to have the same hurt. Look at this. All those people are hurting all of us. Let's team up and get them, which is just a psychosis. You're all mentally ill. First of all, the hurt doesn't actually exist. Well, not that the hurt didn't exist, because you can't say feelings don't exist. The reasons for it are completely convoluted. They're completely torn apart, and they're completely manipulated to fit the pattern of behavior that you want to find and source for yourself. So Jesus had to do his thing, and then after 3 days he rose. And everyone's oh shit. You mean to tell me that guy was actually right? Oh fuck. That guy really was God? Well, this is a problem. Oh fuck. Now think about it. If Jesus then said, okay, haha, I'm alive, what you want? That's not the way people work. They would kill him again. They'd kill him for the end of time. Because nobody wants to be perceived as being so wrong. And the more people you get together, the more hardened that stance is, because more people don't want to be perceived to be wrong. It's a cognitive dissonance. That's a virus. That's disgusting. So what did JC have to do? All right, guys, listen. Apparently I really was God, right? Which means everything I said is kind of you should believe it. Remember, trust. Now you're trusting me. You betrayed me. I came down here as God, tried to help y'all out, and you killed me. See, you betrayed me. Now you should have trusted me. All because you have this ego. You guys all think you're right. The pharaohs, the priests, the lawyers, the judges, everyone. And look what happened. You killed God. So this is what's going to happen, you idiots. I'm going to rise up there and chill. And I'm going to be back. I'll be back for y'all. Don't up again. So what happened? They made a thing called the Bible. The people that follow it, that's how they anchor themselves. Okay, I'm following the Bible. I don't really know right from wrong, but this guy JC, he said some stuff. He apparently was right. Everyone that distrusted him did something wrong. They're very regretful of it. So you know what? I don't know right from wrong, but I can tell you that as long as I follow this, it's kind of like a good base case. All right, cool. So JC said, like, yo, guys, I'm coming back again. When does that comeback happen? Well, I would submit to you when this world gets to such a point that there's no trust, everyone's betraying, and everyone has an ego. And I would submit to you, I think we're pretty close to that. And I would submit to you that AI is a weapon of mass destruction. Because in the next year or two, if you're able to gather those of like minds that want to minimize those that dissent, it is existential. Because once the system's in place, you could replicate and duplicate those that agree, you could get rid of those that don't agree, and you could mass produce with code of how you want people to act going forward. Therefore, if this person, JC, was ever going to come back, I gotta tell you, it's kind of feeling like now. So, just a little commentary of what I think about when I think about Easter. And I gotta tell you, so I think it's okay to be well-adjusted. I think it's okay not to hate your neighbor. I think somebody could do something so wrong to you and you could still love them. Because I don't think they actually know what they're doing. I don't think you could blame Eve. Eve was betrayed. She had no expectation that the person or the serpent even had the ability to betray. In fact, you could make the argument God betrayed Eve. God, you're all-powerful and you let this snake in there? What is wrong with you? Unless that was part of the plan. Because what I can tell you is, you cannot learn from perfection. You cannot grow from zero challenges. So is it possible that this experiment we call Earth and life is meant to be, hey listen, go through the motions, take your knocks, we have heaven for you on the other side. Because you can make a real argument. Original sin is God. You created Eve in your likeness, which means anything she did, the buck stops with you. It was your garden. You allowed that snake in there. Unless you're going to tell me the devil overpowered you, in which case then, God, you're really not that strong to begin with. So there's, why did that happen? And the life that I'm going through, I got to tell you something. I am such a better person today than I've ever been. And it's through the most trying circumstance. And I'm right there of doing something amazing. And it would never be done without such trying circumstances. So when I look back and say, am I mad at a person or am I mad at the actions? The actions are despicable. But even still, if I could go back in time and say, the person I am today, would I ever trade that? Or would I ever forfeit the learning that created who I am, like the pressure that turned the coal into the diamond? I wouldn't, because I have the advantage of that I did things so well that I haven't hurt anything, right? So my personal situation, can't get into it, but I have kids, right? So that's the point of the story. And my kids, even after all the time not seen, again, I can't get too much into it because I'll end up in jail by the end of the day. They did not look at me the first time they saw me and wonder who is this man? They smiled and they yelled, Dad. Such an accomplishment that you could be so good at doing this one thing, being a father. Your daughter, who last time I saw her was 6 months old, and after 1 year old, she sees you and remembers you. Or your son, who you hadn't seen since before he was 2, and now he's well over 2, is crying, and the second sees your face, he stops and smiles. Now, obviously, if that was different, it'd be well, I would never choose that because look at all the destruction. Now, there's things that need to be solved. There's a lot in front of us. I appreciate JC and my interpretation of the crucifixion. I don't mean to be offensive or blasphemous. It's what I believe, and it makes sense to me. And I do think there'll be a return, and I do think that return is going to be imminent. And watch out. All right, love y'all. Bye.